Good evening, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Be Healed Webshow. I am your host, Camille R. Perry, and I am so happy to be with you on tonight. In traditional fashion, when we start Be Healed, I often quote Psalms 118, verse 24, regarding this is the day the Lord has made. We'll rejoice and be glad in it. But I'm going to tell you, after this hot day, okay, that we've been having some heat. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. Let's go into the house. Okay. I was glad when I got off work and I can come into this house and sit up underneath my own AC and be comfortable because it's hot, y'all. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't do well in heat. Hey, Tim, man, brother, man, where you been? It's been a minute. God bless you. Professor Lampley, that is. Hey, sis, so good to see you, Shan. Listen, I know that I'm not the only one who's been dealing with this crazy heat. It's been a doggy, but I rather deal with the heat here. Okay, okay, because I ain't going there. Okay, I'm not gonna be hot forever and ever. No, 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 not the way these hot flashes is set up. But listen, y'all, as I get started, we only 10 days. High five your neighbor and say 10 days. That's right. High five your neighbor again. And if you're in the house by yourself like me, 10 days away from the Be Healed Women's Conference and Retreat. Y'all don't pardon me as I have a party all by myself. 10 days, okay. I'm feeling everything. Badges have been printed, programs have been printed, vendors have been accounted for. Amen, amen. Yes, it was 100 today, and you over in the beach. Well, no, you over here by me, so you know it's hot. This dry heat. But listen, when I tell you, between the hospitality, they already set, they got the food ready. So for those who have registered, you want to make sure you get you some good vittles with us. Man, we got some good stuff on that Friday night and Saturday, to keep, for some folks it's going to be a whole meal, but other folks like me, I'm like, it's a good tie over till you get to where you want, like Maggiano's or Javier's. Go treat yourself nice. But listen, 10 days. 10 days. I mean, whew, if you haven't read the scripture yet, do it for yourself. First Chronicles chapter 4, verses 9 and 10, the prayer of Jabez. Because when we come together, we're asking God to bless us indeed. And that I'm excited. So, but I'm not going to take up all y'all time talking about how excited I am for this upcoming retreat happening in when? 10 days. That's right. I was going to say, high five your neighbor again, say 10 days. But listen, y'all continue to pray for those who are traveling. I mean, we got folks traveling near and far, okay? Near. Now, listen, I'm going to tell y'all my registrants, I'm going to tell y'all the menu. So if you ain't registered, you ain't going to get the menu, okay? Because that's private, okay? It's special. But listen, I don't want to keep my guests waiting because got a great guest, and I want to tell y'all a little bit about why she's going to be on here today. But listen, okay, all the women who are traveling, making their way to Converge Costa Mesa for August 25th through the 27th, some that are even checking in the hotel way early because they just want to relax. Listen, pray that God continues to have his way in each and every one of their lives, because I'm just looking for God to do some amazing things. Yes, there's a menu. I'm going to make sure to share that with my registrants so my registrants can know what's available. But let me tell y'all, last week, y'all got a chance to see a long time friend, co-worker, former co-worker, Mr. Adrian Budianto. And he shared his testimony when he had to just learn to get out of his own way. And I love this because, I believe the scriptures. That's me. That's me, me and mine right here. I believe the word. And when the word that says that he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord, well, his favor emailed me last week and was like, I want to give a little more to the story. And she shared with me personally. But as she was sharing the context to some of the things that he shared openly, the more whys behind the various what's that took place, I said, oh, there's some people that need to hear this. There's some people who need to be encouraged and reminded that listen, no, not only are you not in this thing alone, but you will make it. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna make it. With the help of the Lord, you're gonna make it. And so we have Miss Emily Burianto, the favor of the house of Burianto, the mother of those three dynamic young men, the wife, the she says she's a stay-at-home mom, but I'm like, that's the CEO of an enterprise. You are quality control, you are you're handling risk assessments, you name it. So, but she's always had a passion prior to her being a full-time mom and care provider in the home. She worked in social justice, so she's definitely aware of what's going on, and that's always a beautiful thing. They all reside in the city of Pomona, and I'm excited to have them. So let's welcome Miss Emily. I call her Miss Adrian Budianto, but Miss Emily Budianto as she comes in tonight and graces us on tonight. Welcome, hey sis. Hey sis, how you doing?
Hi, good, good. Thank you so much for having me.
I I could not have you. Honey,
Yeah,
I was sitting there reading what you shared with me and I was like, "Oh, I'm calling her. I'm not emailing her back. I'm
thank you.
calling her."
Yeah, I mean, I had a feeling that you got my husband. Like you
Mhm.
got him in a way that not a lot of people do. And I was like, she needs to know how his life has turned out as since the last time you were together. So,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
So, um, we titled this tonight. There's more to the story.
Hmm.
So, go ahead and take us through what we did that to kind of paint a more clear picture.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, yeah. So you worked with Adrian at Verizon.
I did.
Um, did you have a nickname for him?
Well,
Do you
we
remember
all
what it
had a
was?
nickname. So, in same time, with Lotus Same Time was our instant messenger that we used to use, and I
Oh,
nicknamed everybody on my list because one, I thought folks was monitoring our conversations. So I
oh,
was
okay.
like, if I change the name, they won't know who's who, right?
Yeah.
But I know his was, I know it was Mr. B at one. I mean, I would change it up, but he's had a few nicknames.
Uh-huh. He said they called him Iceman.
Oh yeah, because he was always so yes, Iceman. That was Ernie and Tiffany gave him that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it was I mean and I saw when the Iceman came on and he was stoic and so it was always my mission to crush that ice, to melt that ice. And I think that has happened over time. But after he left Verizon, he actually started day trading, night trading. He was trading foreign currency,
hmm
and this is right before the algorithm sort of took over, and big companies sort of took over trading. It was still when the little guy was trading,
hmm
and we started dating. He was doing that. We'd have our late night dates, and he'd bring his computer to Starbucks, and we'd be talking, and he'd be trading. But it wasn't going well. And there was a time the computers won, the robots won, the algorithms won, and he had to pull out. And that was actually just before we got engaged.
wow.
Um, yeah, so it was what it was. Um, he didn't look back. He never shed a tear. It was his dream, and it was not happening. It was just there was just no way anymore.
Mhm.
Um, but we got engaged, and he started looking for work, and he found a job at a car dealership. This was like 2009, 2000, no, 2010. So this is like when the economy was just awful, just dire. There was no work anywhere. So he found a job at a car dealership, and I know there's probably a better name for it, but he was essentially a gopher. He'd go for the actual people that were selling the cars and getting the commission. He would be running around for them, getting keys, just running all over the place. And, the hours for a car dealership are just they're 24/7. You go where there's going to be a sale. So he was working crazy hours. He was getting treated just terribly.
Mhm.
And he'd do it, and I'd see him late at night. Sometimes he'd come to my apartment, and he'd just be exhausted, and he'd just keep on because that he was going to make money. He was just gonna keep on bringing it. He had bills to pay,
Mhm.
and so he was just going to keep on doing that for as long as he could. And there was one day where he was just like, you know what, I don't deserve to be treated like this. I'm not going to do it anymore.
Okay.
I'm not. And he didn't show up for work, and they called begging him to come back. They were, all of those car salesmen, we'll make it work. We'll make it worth your time. We'll give you a raise, whatever. He didn't answer any of the calls, just let it go to voicemail. And after that, he kept on looking. We were still engaged, and he kept on looking for work. And he got an interview at an old place that he had worked at right out of college, and it was a financial firm. He loved that job,
Of course.
and yeah, just loved it. Just wanted to go back. And the interview, it was one of his real good friends. That friend actually ended up being the stand-in best man in our wedding, but that's a different story. So he's one that got Adrian the interview.
Okay.
And Adrian, got all prepped and stuff, and he interviewed, and he didn't get the job.
Wow.
So it was like back to the drawing board, starting looking again. And he was looking, we were gonna live in Pomona. That was something we sort of committed to. And he was looking, all the way by the beach and all different places. And he ended up getting another interview at this same place. It wasn't going to be as good a pay. There wasn't going to be as many opportunities for promotion or for growth, and it was going to be hourly.
Right.
But he took the interview, and he got the job, and he took the job, and he made the commute. He was working in downtown LA. He left at 6 a.m, got home after 6 at night every day.
Wow.
Took the train, and he did it. He got the job, and he never looked back. And he was working with some of his peers, some of his old colleagues that had never left.
Mhm.
And they had been there. They were officers. How can't they see how valuable you are? Can't they see, just how much you have to give to this place? They're missing out. And he's just putting in his time, and he was, and we were putting in our time. About that same time. So now we were married, and about a month in, he was working. We had a 1 week honeymoon because that's all the vacation time he had. And about a month after we got married, we found out we were pregnant.
Mhm.
And it was a shock for me. So at this point, I was working full time, running a nonprofit, that just bare bones nonprofit. If you've ever done nonprofit work, there's not money in it, and if you're in charge of the whole enterprise, then
Right.
it's a big effort. So I was putting in tons of hours, and he was gone 12 hours a day, and we found out we were pregnant, and this had been kind of our whole relationship, had been us trying to figure out how to be with one another in the nooks and crannies. And so I was I wasn't ready. And Adrian was like so excited. He's like, yeah, the timing isn't great, but this is a new life, and just gonna just embrace it. And about the time that I had really kind of embraced his optimism, we miscarried.
Mm.
And so that was pretty devastating, and it really shook us, and we kind of went on a journey, and we miscarried 2 more times. So must have been about a year later. I was fortunate enough to get pregnant again, and the baby actually never developed. So it was what they call a blighted ovum.
Yeah.
They call so we there was never a baby, and that was, you have all these hopes and dreams when you get pregnant. You just, the minute you find out you're pregnant, you think about who is this child going to be,
Right.
and who are we going to be to this child, and how is this child going to be in the world. And we didn't have the opportunity to see, and then the pregnant the third time, and it was, just again newly pregnant, and we Adrian got in a car crash. Somebody had rear-ended him from behind. I wasn't with him, but I went to the place. I went to the scene. It wasn't far from our house. I get this call from him, and he's like, "Emily, I got in a little crash," and I was like, "Oh, it must not be that big of a deal, It's probably somebody bumped his his little fender bender." And I get there, and the car is totaled, and I was, he was in shock. He was okay, and the other driver was okay, and the other driver didn't know where he was driving, and he made an illegal U-turn and hit Adrian from behind. So Adrian wasn't expecting it. This was on his way home from work, I believe.
Wow.
So it really shook me, and I think the stress of it must have caused the third miscarriage. But we kept trying, and it was really scary, but we got pregnant again, and we had our first son so we were married in June of 2011, and we had our first son in July of 2014.
Wow.
His Daniel, he just turned 9.
First of all, I love the name Daniel.
Oh,
So much there. But, if we just pause for a second, I do know that the words that I keep hearing as you're sharing is resilience, persistence, humility. These are action words. These are not words that come with moot understanding or no movement, right? These are very much active verbs. These things do not, you there's people who have gone through less, who at the slight of one situation could throw in the towel. So from the robots, the automation of services, where jobs are now being outsourced to artificial intelligence, and people being out of a job. He could have went a different way. But one thing that I said to him last week, that I always saw in him, he understood his mission.
Yeah.
Like almost to the point where you would think Adrian was in some type of army or some type of military branch. Like he had to be a military kid type of, because it's like he understood the mission, he understood the assignment. And so yes, sometimes things do not go as planned, but you stick to the assignment. And you being the cheerleader, as well as like, honey, you deserve more, and helping him to know and be reminded daily of his worth and his value, but yet saying, I'll take this low point because I still want to get you down the aisle because you're my future. That's heavy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, he's just a gem. I mean, he is. I got lucky with that one. That's for sure. He was my last eHarmony date as well. I was done after him. I was like, this is ridiculous. So, but thankfully it worked out for both of us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and through all the miscarriages, he just, how you feel a lot of guilt when you have a miscarriage. You blame yourself, and you think of all the things. Like, what if I ate that thing? What if I, I walked too fast when I was exercising? It's just all of the things you think about. And he never let me carry that guilt. I was um, really grateful for that. And, he never carried it either, because I think men can.
Yeah.
I think men can carry it. They can think it's their fault for
Mhm.
whatever reason, and he didn't take that on himself either.
Emily, I think you and I talked before, and I was saying to you that because I know, I do know some of the folks who watch, and I do know that having friends and family members, close, even coworkers who desire to carry a child, desire
Mm-hmm.
to overcome the hurdle, the hump, you name it,
Yeah.
and even experiencing miscarriages and feeling like, what is wrong with me,
Yeah.
what did I do, and not everyone has been blessed to have their mate understand that,
Mm.
and I think that oftentimes mates, like you mentioned, they go through their process too, but for the two of you to go through this together without trying to place fault, without trying to, I mean, that says so much about your relationship with and respect with one another. Now, for
Mm.
those that are having those challenges, take a page with Emily and Adrian and understand that it's nothing that neither one of you could have prevented per se, right?
Right.
We don't know all the
Right.
details, but sometimes it just
Right.
happens.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not in
Yeah.
control.
We don't know. We don't know the whys and we don't know the hows. But yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we had our share. I'm not saying we didn't go through stuff. We did, and getting married, just he's 10 years older than me, so
Yeah.
he had his way of doing life, and I had mine, and we did go to therapy, and we tried to, we worked it out and we talked it out, and we're different cultures. Like,
Mhm.
it's huge. And being in a biracial marriage, it's not that we're always on the same page.
Right, right.
It's hard to be on the same page.
Yeah.
But he was, like you said, resilience, consistency, um, empathy. Just he was that to me in those times.
I love that. And then one of the things that you mentioned when we were discussing and what you shared, you were saying that your faith has taken some highs and lows, but his remained consistent. Um,
Hmm.
what in a very, like you mentioned, a very blended home from a cultural
Hmm.
perspective,
Yeah.
not just from culture, but from age range, demographic to, where you all grew up, you name it. How did you reconcile those times where he's so strong? So how did you process? Like, were there times where you just like, I'm done?
No, in terms of the differences in our faith, no, no. I think that both of us, so, when I think both of us have really respected one another's where we're coming at when we in our belief in God and in our practice of Christianity. So Adrian and I have always been different. It hasn't been like, um, I mean, we were both raised Catholic, and that foundation, that cultural foundation
Yeah.
is, I mean, that's pretty unique, and it's something that really, I think, has helped to bind us and bind our families together too. So having that, I think, within Catholicism there's so many different types of people and different types of faith, and you have charismatics and you have people that are
Reserved.
just
Hmm.
reserved.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've just always respected that about each other.
Yeah.
um Not to say that there aren't times where I'm just like, oh, I want you to be on my
Right.
page. I want you to think these thoughts or this way. But I do think that there are things in like, you can't get everything from your partner. You just can't. You can't. You have That's what friends are for. That's what family's
Yeah.
for too. There are things in a relationship that I just can't, you can't lean on them for everything.
What I love,
Yeah.
Shannon said, you may not be on the same page, but you're in the same book. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's I like that saying. What do you think about that?
I love that. I love that. You know, I don't know. When we first got together, there's a, you know, all of that. I'm that pressure to be equally yoked.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that look like if we're equally yoked? You know, like, does he have the same intensity and fervor and, you know, tenacity? And are we going to go, you know? And I was, you know, I had a lot of tenacity and intensity and fervor, and I did not want my partner to have all that because I did not want to end up like, you know, penniless. And I knew I couldn't, you know, I knew I had needed somebody to ground me.
Right.
And he wasn't that. He wasn't the guy that was constantly consuming all the books. He was the guy that was going to church every Sunday, who was doing ministry to the homeless,
Yeah.
and he was good to his, just you know, and at it, just in his soul, he was
Yeah.
just, he was good, and he knew where, you know, he followed his intuition, um as just, you know, as as though he was following the Holy
Yeah.
Spirit. So, and he was, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I like what you're saying is understanding that when you said that he was doing the work, he was
Mm-hmm.
doing. Adrian has always been about action, even
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
very mundane job of auditing uh, quality assurance, from a quality assurance perspective, auditing accounts to make sure that these multi-million-dollar accounts are paying their cell phone bills. You
Mm-hmm.
know, to I remember he would build graphs and charts, right? And like and
Uh-huh.
try to explain. I'm like, dude, who cares? Like, just tell them they failed. But
Oh,
he always would go above and beyond. And
yeah.
when you think
Yeah.
about following the teachings of Christ, Christ did. He just didn't talk, but he
Mm-hmm.
did. Right? He visited the sick,
Oh, yeah.
visit
Mm-hmm.
those who are in prison. He was concerned about those that were locked up in their own minds. You know, he sat with
Yeah.
those who didn't know and didn't, you know, he didn't turn folks away. Right?
Yeah.
And when we think about how important that is in our life, that sometimes you're not going to get the corner office job. Sometimes you're not going to get the six-figure write-off, regardless of your pedigree, your education, or
Mm-hmm.
your background. Sometimes you're going to take that running job at the
Mm-hmm.
at the car dealer, or sometimes you're going to take that
Mm-hmm.
position that's a little more low level, just so you can make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
But doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that's where you're going to end.
And it's not who you are. It's
Right.
not who you are.
It doesn't
Yeah.
define you. Yeah.
No.
I love
No.
that. So, you all been married now. You said 2014 is when you had Daniel.
Yeah, 2011. So it's 12 years. Just
12
made
years.
it 12 years. Yeah.
Okay, so I like to do kind of little fast games with my guests sometimes,
Uh-huh.
especially just to see, just to shake it up a little bit. Let's do a 12-year forecast
Oh.
for the next 12 years. What do you have on the forecast in year 1 through 5?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Our kids are still babies. We're doing, Adrian. Okay, I'll just to finish the story. Can I finish
Oh,
just a
oh
little
yeah,
bit of the
absolutely,
story?
absolutely.
So, Adrian, we came full circle. You know, the pandemic came, and a lot was happening with me personally that we had to overcome. But he lost his job, after just put everything into it during the pandemic. Really, literally was working, you know, so many hours in our little spare room in our little tiny house,
Mhm.
and then he lost his job. He got laid off, and when I must have been picking up the kids from school or something when the kids had gone back to school. But I came home and he said, I got laid off, and I was just shocked, like
Yeah.
just I could keep trying to process that. And he said, "But I have a plan." And
Mm.
I was like, I can't think about a plan. You've been working here for over 10 years. Like, don't talk to me about a plan. Like, how are you? This is just a devastating thing. They hired somebody to lay him off, and
Wow.
it still makes me very upset. But he had a plan. And so when I calmed down, because he was fine, when I calmed down, he shared the plan with me. And the plan, he wanted to start trading again because he
That's right.
wanted to trade for corporations. Um, and that's what he's doing. He's working from home. He's back to trading. He's trading things the algorithms just can't catch.
That's all.
And he's making the life that he always wanted.
That's good.
So that happened we've been at that for about a year. And I mean, it's been hard. It's been good. It's been very good because I get Adrian back. All of those years ago when I wanted to spend a little more time with him, and after all of the 12-hour days and not seeing him and him not seeing the kids, I get him back. He's not trading all day every day.
Right.
So that's good. So I think his we're dealing with just helping to take care of his parents. His
Mhm.
parents just they need a lot more care. Our commitment right now it's really to just dig deep into our family and to care for them. And I I don't know if I can forecast the next 12 years. I don't have a crystal ball, but it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, again, these are, like I think about sometimes with vision boards, we write down things, but doesn't mean it'll happen the way we want it, or
Yeah.
Lord knows we all can have our hope and wish list type thing. But and I'm so glad that you concluded that part, because of course I know the end of the story, but the folks don't. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
For sharing that. But when you mentioned that he had a plan,
Yeah.
and he was willing to put the plan in place to do it, and then seeing the benefits of doing that, it's something about a man, let me just say, not a man, a person
Hmm.
who is focused to do the right thing.
Hmm.
It's something to be said about a person who can withstand the storm and continue to move forward. It is
Right.
something about that's marvelous to see. And in the dynamic of husband and wife, when you have your husband who's leading, who's sharing, who's doing and saying, hey, we're going to make it.
Hmm.
When I was listening to you talk about Adrian, I thought about my dad. Now, him and my mom, my dad has always been the front runner when it comes down to providing for the family. But my dad never let his contracting license expire, because if there were times, my mom would say this herself, there were times when he was working at the school office, the district office, for as an electrician, but things weren't happening. Money wasn't coming, but he had the side job,
Yeah.
and those would start coming in. It was like a ebb and flow at all times, where provision was always made.
Yeah.
And then, as you were sharing about now him being present at the home with the kids, things
Hmm.
that you wanted years ago.
Hmm.
But if you would have been like, you know what, forget the plan, I'm cool, I'm done, you would
Yeah.
have missed out, because some people can't date a person, let alone
Yeah.
engage to a person who's not, present at every moment,
Right. Right.
not in
Right.
proximity. So, I mean, it's so much when I listen to you all, when I read your work, when I read your email, and even talking to him, it helped me to understand, like, I don't believe that it was by happenstance or
Mm.
by coincidence
Hmm.
that you all matched on eHarmony.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was by happenstance or coincidence that both of you all were at your wits' end and said, I'm going to give one more go. And then here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Thanks.
I love it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah. We're yeah.
And so like you had a few miscarriages, but you have three children.
Yeah, we had three miscarriages.
Three miscarriages produced. Now here we are, three sons later.
Three sons later. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I mean, you said like oftentimes we don't know the what and the why, but I'm so grateful that we know the who.
Yeah.
We might not know what and
Yeah.
why, but we do know God
Yeah.
always has a plan for our
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Love that.
Yeah. 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 He's been, I mean, God has the presence of God in the midst of it all has
Mhm.
been just just the ultimate comfort. And I don't want to paint a picture that Adrian's perfect.
Oh, we know.
He's not perfect, but the ways that he has demonstrated his faith and is that's been real.
Yeah, absolutely. We know there's no perfect folks, right? We know that.
Right.
No worries. But I do think it's awesome because I don't look at it being just Adrian. You and him are a unit. You're one.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he's able to do and have the reinsurance, because what one thing that he mentioned last night is how you help him to see love that he
Mm.
normally wouldn't see.
Mm-hmm.
That is so huge. I think I work with those that have hearing impairment and sometimes vision impairment, and I think about how it's so important to have that person who can interpret,
Mm.
who can
Yeah.
help guide, who can help, get through those hard things. We need that, and that's
Yeah.
that's who you both are to each other in
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Oh,
I love that.
thanks. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So listen, so what's next? Let's say we can't say this. Daniel is 11.
He's 9.
Nine. That's right.
Mm-hmm. 9.
20. Okay,
Yeah.
9. So you have a 9, 6, and 3.
Yes.
All right. So he'll be going off. I think he just started fourth grade.
They haven't started yet. We have
Oh,
one and
really?
a half more weeks of vacation. Yeah. Then he'll
Okay.
start. He'll be in fourth. You're right. He'll be in fourth, and Zach will
Awesome.
be in first, and Levi will be in preschool.
Okay. So you all
Mm-hmm.
will technically be empty at home while the kids are in school.
First stage of empty nesting. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah.
so what is your plan for you, mom extraordinaire, wife, uh,
Yeah.
personified in just beauty and greatness? What are your plans for you as now the kids are moving and matriculating through school? What's the plans for you?
Well, I'm hoping to get back in the community. So I'm hoping to start volunteering. There's a little independent bookstore in our town that I'm hoping to get involved with. They're a nonprofit. They're called Cafe Con Libros.
Okay.
Um, so I'm hoping to do that, and I think I'm looking for my place in the kids' school as well.
Mhm.
And I think just there's a lot. I spent so much of my working career just digging in, with both feet and just giving everything I had 100% of the time.
Mhm.
And I think I'm just at a point in my life where I want to listen and
Mhm.
wait and see
Yeah.
and be open. There are also just a lot of people in our circle that need just extra presence and love. So I don't know if it's going to look like, I don't know if it's going to be big and out there and, or if it's just going to be making meals and being available when people need it.
Yeah. Either
Yeah.
way, either
Yeah.
way, I pray the best for you both
Thank you.
as you all go into your first round experience of
Yeah.
partial empty nesters.
Yeah. Thanks.
I definitely believe it's going to get better and better and better. So, if you could encourage a woman, a husband, a partner, you name it, who is currently feeling challenged in their journey to motherhood and parenthood,
Hmm.
how would you encourage them on today?
I think I would say that number one, you are not alone,
Mm-hmm.
and I would I just be open. There are so many ways that a baby can come into your life, and just be open and keep your eyes open to that, and don't get discouraged. Um, love each other through it.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't. I it is it is it is a really, really, really hard place to be, and there is deep pain, and I don't think our society always wants to talk about it. It's like we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about the pain of miscarriage because it's too hard, and we don't want to talk about the pain of not even being able to conceive, because I don't know why,
Mm-hmm.
but there are safe people and places to talk about it, and you can talk about it to one another, and and don't be afraid to feel all the feelings.
Yeah.
Don't, you know, and God's presence is with you, and
Absolutely.
He is your comforter. That's really
Absolutely.
all of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I like the fact that there's more to the story. I'm grateful that I not only received that email from you, but have had such a great time conversing with you via phone call and text.
Yeah.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful for social media. It ain't all bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's
No,
not all bad.
it's not. It's not.
I'm
Yeah.
grateful that we have been able to connect in this manner. And so I want you to know that not only did your story help someone uh, that was listening and that will listen, but to see you and to hear that the strength, even in yourself, as Shannon is saying, that thank you for sharing your journey. Because I believe, and I stand by this all the time, Be Healed is a place for all people
Mm.
of faith, not of faith, because I believe this is just me. I believe everybody's interesting. I believe that everybody has a
That's so cool.
story. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always been like that since a little girl. And, I think that as people, sometimes when we're not able to communicate, that's when we act out the worst,
So true.
when we're not able to be understood,
Yeah.
right? And I want to always make sure that Be Healed Web Show is a place where people can feel safe to share,
Hmm.
safe to be themselves, but as well as understand that, listen, just where you are doesn't mean that's how you have to stay.
Yeah.
That change is always available. Transformation can always take place. Growth, you name it, healing,
Hmm.
restoration, you name it. And so I thank you both for being in my life. I thank you both for
Hmm.
being willing to be on this show.
Hmm.
And I believe it's going to be first of many in various ways for you and Adrian both, because you never know. You at Cafe Los Con Libros, you never know. You might be able to host events. You might be, or any place.
Yeah.
You might be able to offer a safe space as well, because you just have that vibe, Emily. I just want to let you know. You have that
Oh,
vibe.
thanks.
Like, I'm like,
Thanks.
she would be a great counselor, therapist. I could see it.
Yeah. You never know. You never know. I guess one other thing, and just for what it's worth, you give me a platform, and then I'll start doling out advice. But for what it's worth, I wasn't. I needed to be where I'm at now to love the kids in the way they need to be loved now, and I would not have. I mentioned some mental health challenges that, or maybe I didn't, but I went through some mental health stuff during lockdown, and I'm sure a lot of us did. But um, my kids needed me to get through that, and they need a mom who's healthy and able to be be present with them in a different way. And, you know, it was stuff I didn't even know I had to deal with, that I had to deal with. So that's just part of it, you know, just part of, I guess it's part of the plan.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
He knows our story. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that God knows our story. He knows where we are
Mm-hmm.
going to go and the path that we take. And so, listen, you all who have listened, who have chimed in, good evening. God bless you. Mama Two, my sister Cassandra, let's see, Mary, Jessica, all of these wonderful folks, Professor Lampley, you name it. And those that might not even commented, those that just been enjoying YouTube and been enjoying Facebook, thank you for tuning in tonight to hear me and Emily just have a fireside chat with each other virtually. We appreciate it. We thank you. And so if you're watching on YouTube, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Facebook, make sure you share, like, and always comment. So listen, Emily, if there's a way for people to get a hold of you, I do have Adrian's information still on. I know you said you're not on social media.
I am not. No, I mean, you could probably find me on Facebook. I lost my password and I don't care to find it. So, but I'm not on any social media right now. And I kind of think I'm gonna keep it that way as long as my kids are little.
Absolutely. I get it. I get it. Well,
Yeah.
for those that tuned in on last week, if you have questions for Adrian and Emily, make sure you reach out to Adrian and they can set something up for you all. But until next time, I get to hang out with Emily for a little bit, to do the fun things that, the behind the scenes that you all don't get to see. I love those fun times. But just a reminder, the Be Hill store is very much open, 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 open. Remember that commercial? Open, open, open. Okay. But the Be Hill store, I think it was for Ross when they were like,
Oh.
open. I know it's when was the last time Ross had a commercial, But but the Be Hill store is open, so inspirational merch, you name it, it's available. And again, Be Hill Women's Conference 10 days away. I'm just too fit to be tied. I'm excited. And so I'm excited to see what God is going to do in and through each and every person that attends. Well, in usual fashion, may the Lord God bless you. May he keep you. May his face shine upon you and give you strength. May the light of his countenance continue to follow you, to just shed light in your presence, where you understand that not only is God with you, but you matter to him. He's concerned about your life. And sometimes we don't know how much we're loved. But I'm here to tell you, flat-footed, unapologetically, God loves you with an everlasting love. So turn, talk to him, reach out. He's here. All right. Love you all. Be blessed. Emily, hang out with me for a second. You all have a great night, and we'll see you next week, Lord willing. Talk to you soon.